Assassin's Creed 3, PlayStation Plus. I'm playing it again. Oh god. Alright. So, this is obviously Assassin's Creed 3. It's free on PlayStation Plus. This game was... I'm pretty sure this game was a big disappointment for a lot of people. It was probably my biggest disappointment of 2012. I originally played it on the Wii U. Personally, I think the Wii U version was the best. Problem is, there was no one playing the multiplayer. So I couldn't, I got to about level 14 on the multiplayer, and then I couldn't actually play anymore because no one was playing it. So obviously, this is literally the first minute of the game, so spoilers, it's the first few spoilers. It's not going to make a difference really. Okay. I'm going to turn it down, the volume down, so I can speak. I'm going to leave the volume up a little bit. Assassin's Creed 3... You know, people hate this man. People think he's annoying. He's a brat, people think. I don't. I think he's actually probably the most interesting character in the game. Personally, these parts, these modern parts, are probably the most interesting parts of Assassin's Creed 3. I love this whole Animus stuff. I know people don't. People are like, oh, take out the Animus, just make it a, you know, assassination game that's set in, you know, 17th century, 18th century pirates, you know, Altair century, blah blah. Me though, I love this stuff. I think it's awesome. I want more of it. Because the end of Assassin's Creed 3, if you haven't heard, the ending of Assassin's Creed 3 is pretty bad. And I want to know what happens in Assassin's Creed 4. I want to know how the Animus fits in Assassin's Creed 4, because I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Now, people hated Connor as well, because he thought he was just an annoying brat as well. I didn't hate him. I didn't actually think he was even a bad character, but he was nowhere near as good as Ezio, obviously. Now, I think Assassin's Creed 3 is better than Revelations, simply because I actually was able to beat this one, and I didn't lost the will to live when I was playing this one, because Assassin's Creed Revelations was pretty bad and pretty boring, and I got about halfway through AC Revelations and I was like, bye. I traded it in and I think I got Skyrim. So which is sad because I love Assassin's Creed 1, I love Assassin's Creed 2, I love Brotherhood, and I didn't like Revelations. I've beaten every Assassin's Creed game apart from Revelations and the handheld ones. I haven't beat the handheld ones. You know, it's a bit. I kind of want to beat Revelations just to say I've beaten every Assassin's Creed game on console, and I might buy it again and play through it, or maybe if it goes free one day. But you know, Assassin's Creed Revelations was just bad. It wasn't very good. Now, you don't actually become an assassin in this game to about... I don't want to say, oh, it's like 20 hours in, because it's not. It's like 8-10 hours in, I'm not sure. I love that. I actually really like that. It takes a long time to become an assassin. I don't know why. I think that's really cool. You know, I'm a big fan of that. I don't think people like build-up anymore, because there's no one actually like setting up a character. Excuse me. I think the problem is that everyone didn't like Connor, so maybe that's why they didn't like the build-up. But I liked Connor, so the build-up to become an assassin was really good. It was really cool, you know. And I liked the slow pace. It was quite nice, even though it wasn't. I loved the training as a kid, and I loved the training as like a teenager, and I thought the story of this game was probably the best part of it. I actually kept playing this game for the cutscenes. If the story and the cutscenes, because if the story wasn't any good, I probably wouldn't have kept playing it. Now, Assassin's Creed when Assassin's Creed 2 came out, it was the best one, obviously.
Do you hear us?
When Assassin's Creed Brotherhood came out, I didn't like it at first, because I thought Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, for me anyway, was one of those games where it was like 10 times better on the second playthrough. I played through it first time and I was like, eh, and I played through it again, I was like, wow, and I really liked it. And I think, you know, maybe I played it wrong the first time, but I thought, when I played Brotherhood, I loved it, second time through, but I still thought Assassin's Creed 2 was better. Now, I think Assassin's Creed Brotherhood's better, because Assassin's Creed 2 hasn't as aged well as Assassin's Creed Brotherhood has. You know, you get those games where you play through it and you're like, wow, that was an amazing, but you don't want to necessarily play through it again because it was such a long build-up and game. Assassin's Creed 2 was one of those games where it was like amazing to play through, but you didn't really want to play through it again because it was kind of like a big undertaking. And we got some gameplay now. Main reason I don't think I like this one is because there was barely any free running on rooftops, and the tree running isn't actually that interesting because it's kind of linear, the tree running is. But the actual animations, I'm not sure if they were better or not. Now, I don't know, I never knew if the animations were good or not for Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood, because I've never really done any free running before, and I've never really seen any free running stuff. So I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know if it looks good or not. You know, when you see on, I have seen free running videos. Problem is the camera is like from the side, or it's first person view. It's not like behind the character, obviously, unless they like stuck a camera to the back of their hoodie, and they like had a stick to the back of their hoodie and then put the camera on. So you really know what it looks like from this angle. So I don't know if the animations are good or not, but I do like them. I don't know if they're the best or not. I can't really tell. Now, the problem is Assassin's Creed, it's gone the route of every game does. It goes way too actiony. Assassin's Creed 1 was, you were really an assassin. Personally, Assassin's Creed 1 is a personal favourite out of the series because of, you know, it was the first one and stuff like that. And you see this? This is awesome. This is like free running. There's barely any of this building climbing in the game. In Assassin's Creed Brotherhood 2 and Revelation, well, not in Revelations I would say, but in Brotherhood and 2 more, there was this type of free running. In Assassin's Creed 3 there isn't really this building free running, this type of free running. It's tree running, and then when you're in the city, mainly running across the ground. Now, one thing it took me a while to adjust to was the fact that the camera was a lot closer to the character, and in Assassin's Creed 2 it was a lot further away, and that really messed with my eyes. I'm quite funny about that stuff. I noticed the small things. So, yeah. And I think the camera might still be a bit too close. In Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, the camera was further out. And maybe, I think they maybe went a bit too close. Maybe they were trying to make it more personal. I don't know. Now, one thing I'm going to say, and they screwed the controls up somehow. Free running isn't as controllable, and when you're climbing it's not as controllable, and in my opinion the controls in gameplay is terrible. I really couldn't get used to the gameplay in this Assassin's Creed 3. I hated it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't counter. I couldn't, you know, hit anything. I couldn't do anything. And Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations, you know, I was fine. Never had an issue with gameplay because the gameplay was so fluid and good. And in some reason, Assassin's Creed 3, I don't know if they changed something, but I couldn't do the gameplay anymore. And I was dying quite a lot, and I have no idea why. Because I had no trouble with Brotherhood. You know, it was really, you know, constantly, you know, like, because in Brotherhood you could do like amazing, like 30 kill streaks, you know, stuff like that. I think they called them kill streaks and all, which is pretty funny. But I think they screwed it up. For some reason, the gameplay, the controls, the camera. Here's the problem: the camera in the goddamn gameplay in the fighting is terrible. I never heard one person say this, and I was like, did we play the same game? Because people say the gameplay is better than ever in reviews. Gameplay is better than ever. It's more fluid, more ways to take out enemies, and I'm like, am I playing the same game? Because the camera is terrible, the gameplay is less fluid, and the controls seem to suck. So I didn't understand what's going on there. Whoop.
All you have to do here is jump the gap.
I don't think they gave you, you know, like in that trailer, in the gameplay they showed off. You know, where he was on the branch, he pulled someone from, you know, he hanged someone from the branch. He killed a load of guys, ran into the fort, grabbed a gun, ran up the thing, then jumped and stabbed him with the end of the musket. And they were like, here's the thing, it's very difficult to get controls to work well, because you have worked with the game for a year, 2 years, 3 years, so obviously you're used to the controls. And even if the controls sucked at first, you're now used to the controls and you think the controls are fine. Problem is, you had to work with it for a year or two. We are only going to have to use it for like 20 hours. So, it's even in that 20 hours, I could not do anything like that. The controls, they really somehow screwed the controls up, and I don't know how. Now, Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, they had these really cool, like, 6 or 5 in Brotherhood, and then 6 or 5 in Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2, there was these buildings where you had to like climb to the top. There were huge free running stuff, and because they had changed the free running a bit in this, and I think they made the free running better, and then they wasted it because there was basically no free running in the game, because you couldn't, there was nowhere to climb. It was just tree running, which is, in my opinion, was kind of boring, and it was slower. Like, I saw no reason to tree run other than maybe it looked cooler, because Assassin's Creed tree running was actually slower than walking across the ground, which doesn't make sense. Now, Assassin's Creed 4, I know it's got nothing to do with this, but Assassin's Creed 4 looks amazing. I'm a bit worried about the gameplay, because I said I hate the gameplay. Assassin's Creed 3, I never got used to it. They screwed up the controls for me anyway somehow, and the camera was terrible, because in Assassin's Creed 3 a lot of the fighting would be in alleyways, and the camera you couldn't see what you're doing. Maybe that was the reason why I couldn't get into the gameplay. Maybe it was just the camera. I don't know. You know, I'm not really bothered. But it looks like Assassin's Creed 4, it looks a lot better because it looks a bit more open, and you know, but we'll have to see if they fix the camera problems. And another problem in the gameplay, in Assassin's Creed 2, you could, this was, because there was actually, you could climb buildings and free run them. I know you can in Assassin's Creed 3, but you barely can, because the buildings go up to about two floors, and there's really no free running. But in Assassin's Creed 2 there was loads of free running, Brotherhood, there was loads of free running, high buildings, because in Assassin's Creed 2, and Assassin's Creed 2 of, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but Assassin's Creed 2, obviously it was Venice and stuff like that, so the buildings were really close to each other, the roofs were really close to each other, so obviously you could free run from roof to roof to roof. In this, they had just built all this stuff, so of course they hadn't had high buildings yet, and they really screwed that up. I don't know what they were thinking. I think they were banking on the tree running, and the tree running didn't really work out. And I mean, I didn't really hear much people going, "Wow, tree running!" You know, it didn't really catch on. So you know, but you know, it's a shame that they screwed Assassin's Creed 3 up. I think the problem is that people got so hyped for AC3, and then when they got it, they were like, "Oh my god!" You hyped it so much because it was a new character, and you know. But I think now, but Assassin's Creed 4 looks amazing. But Assassin's Creed 4 looks amazing, but people aren't overhyped for it. I don't think people were overhyped for AC4. I think there's just the right amount of hype for AC4. So I think, you know, it's gonna be good. I hope. I don't want to be burned again because I was pretty annoyed because I love Assassin's Creed, and they screwed it up.
Civilization levels look good now. We should be able to build the world. Time to find out what the temple wants from you.
Now, as you know, you spend about 3 hours as him before Connor. I really like this. The plot twist. Someone said, I think it was Angry Joe, who I really like, by the way. He said, if you're like a really hardcore AC fan, you'll see the plot twist, but I didn't. So I don't know what that says about me. But the plot twist is amazing. Personally, I love it. I was like, whoa. I was like, holy hell. That's crazy. You know, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. I don't know how you would expect it. Obviously, there's going to be some people who expect it.
Everything all right, sir? Yes,
I think
fine.
it's because
Preoccupied, that's all. Don't forget
I'm literally only the last year or two have I started to, because obviously I was younger kids, when they play games, they play it for the gameplay, they don't play it for the story as much. But now that I'm older, I really care about the story. I think because Mass Effect 3 came out, I did like a marathon of playing through the first and second one before the third one came out, because I never played the first and second one, and I was like, wow, that story was amazing, and I think that's what got me into some stories more. So yeah. So now I do really care about stories. I'm looking for story games. Gameplay is still #1, but if the story's amazing, then, you know, I really do care about stories now. I personally think that I guess spoilers. I've talked about gameplay stuff, why I think, you know, you screwed it up sometimes a bit.
Take your coat, sir?
And I'm going to go into some spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, maybe turn it off now. I might do a second video for the multiplayer, because I think the multiplayer is a big part of this game. So, I personally think the old man, he's not really that old, but he's not old to start with. He seems old to start with, and then he seems the same age when the game ends. I don't know that happens. Personally, this really what annoyed me. Assassin's Creed 3 started such a good start. This bit is really awesome.
Good evening, sir.
This bit was a great start to the game. You know, they seem like they've patched the frame rate. The update was 1.7, so they might have fixed the frame rate, so, you know, that's a good thing.
My apologies.
Turn the game audio up a bit so you can hear a bit. Want to?
Evening, Hatham.
Reginald?
I can't tell you how happy I was to hear they'd mounted this roof.
Now, obviously, the graphics are amazing,
Best work by far.
but the frame rate
You've seen it
was
before?
Once,
an issue.
father brought me here as a
But
child.
I got used to the frame rate. You know,
I don't suppose tonight
you do get used to the frame rate,
proper viewing either.
and they seem like they might have patched it, or I might just be used to it.
On to business.
I played the Wii U version. People said the Wii U version had the worst frame rate, but for some reason for me, it looked like it had the best. So now, problem is that, you know, people said Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed kept gradually moving away from assassins, and yes, it did. But I think that's how it went in real life. I think because of the advances in technology, assassins no longer became as assassins. They were more loud and, you know, not necessarily as planning as they were, like he said, because I think, you know, Assassin's Creed 1, it's up there, Assassin's Creed 1, you know, you'd plan it out, you'd plan it for like an hour, and then you would go and find him, and personally, the set pieces for Assassin's Creed 1 were amazing, but I think that was how Altair, is that his name? Yeah, Altair, I think that's how Altair did it, and then Ezio was cocky, and, you know, so he took him out a bit differently. And I think Connor, the way he was brought up, and the way he was, you know, trained, I think, and because I think he was just a more violent and more destructive person, and I think that's the assassins, his assassinations reflected who he was. Maybe because they've already said there's going to be more Assassin's Creeds after Assassin's Creed 4. Maybe they'll have a new character that's a lot more like stealthy, who plans more, and that's his personality. He's a lot more secretive, you know. So you see the climbing. I personally think the climbing controls are worse. They seem to screwed it up. They've made it so there's only 2 buttons now instead of 3, which means you have less control, because 3 buttons you had more control with. You know, who is that? I'm not going to spoil anything. I might do. So like I said, keep careful. I have warned you, so if you get spoiled, don't say anything. I'm a huge I get really annoyed by spoilers, so you'll be warned, just in case. Now, locking minigame, it's fine. It's not the best in the world, but I wouldn't say it took me a while to understand what the hell I was doing, and can I remember how to do it. There we go. And you gotta hold it in place, and there we go, and hold R1. There we go. There's gonna might be spoilers, but one thing is Assassin's Creed 1, jumping into hay bales was like an amazing part. That was like a highlight of the game, was that. And then they seem to, you know, it's a big deal because you had to Eagle Vision, climbing to the top of the buildings. Assassin's Creed 1 was a big deal. You had to do it. It was a big part of the game, and then synchronizing the area. And then they moved away from that. And I kind of wish they didn't, but like I said, I think that's just the personality of the characters, and how they assassinate is their personality. You know, some people say, oh, might be a victim of its own success, which is possible. You know, it just went more actiony, I don't know. You know, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game anymore. That's the thing. It really doesn't. You know, Assassin's Creed 2 didn't really feel like an Assassin's Creed game. You know. The graphics are amazing. The faces look really cool. There are some different cutscenes. There are like some in-engine cutscenes. There's some not in-engine cutscenes. I'm pretty sure. Well, you know what I mean.
Haytham. You should have come to me. We would have found another way. Yes. But then you would have known. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. As am I.
Oh, spoilers. Who's that? Spoilers. Spoilers. I can't even remember myself, but I know. Spoilers. Who is he? I forgot who he is. I know who he is, but I forgot who he is. He's a big part of the game. He's like one of those... Let me guess, they're the two daughters, I guess. Now I think it's time we run out of here. Run! Keep running! Don't run. It's fine. You just murdered someone. There's people screaming. You know. Run! Running! Run! I personally think, you know, Assassin's Creed, you know, it went worse. It went downhill after Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed, obviously Assassin's Creed Revelation was pretty bad. It was pretty mediocre. It was average, and then Assassin's Creed 3. Here's the thing: Assassin's Creed 3 was so ambitious, it screwed up because it was technical flaws. You know, it kind of reminds. It kind of reminded me of. It didn't have that polish because it was being worked on by a different. It wasn't being worked on. It was being worked on a different team for 2 years, for 2 or 3 years, and because of that, it didn't have the polish of the first 3. And I wonder if the AC4 is going to have that as well. I kind of wish they'd had the same team as Brotherhood, and then worked on it for another 2 years and not had an annual release, so they could have more polish. Because this game feels like a reboot in, or like a new IP. Assassin's Creed 3 feels like a new IP because of how unpolished it was. You know, new IPs, obviously, because it's a new IP, they're not as polished as well-known franchises. And then the second one in that IP, you know, gets a lot more polished. And you know, but this isn't polished. That was the main problem with it. It didn't have the polish of Brotherhood because it was being made by a different team.
Those who ruled, reigned, and vanished from the world. Do we know what it is that will be held within?
It could contain certain knowledge, perhaps a weapon or something as yet unknown, unfathomable in its construction and purpose. It could be any of these things, or none of them.
So, you know, that's how I really feel about Assassin's Creed 3.
But of one thing I am certain,
it's the second worst.
whatever waits behind those doors
Revelations is the worst. I guess then maybe it's AC1, then AC2, then Brotherhood. I don't know. I think AC2 and AC Brotherhood are tied for first, in my opinion.
Mr. Harrison.
Gentlemen.
Assassin's Creed 1 is like, you know, like a personal favourite in the series, but not actually my favourite, just like a...
That's a lot of ground to cover.
because of what it did.
Were that I could be more accurate.
That's all right. It suffices for a start. And that is why we've called you here, Master Kenway. We'd like for you to travel to America.
The only thing is I don't actually like playing as him, because I don't think he... something about him, I don't like playing as him. I don't think the gameplay of him is as good as Connor, or as, you know, as Connor.
Each is also uniquely suited to aid you.
Now, one thing I want to... if we can go back to the Animus. I'm going to see if we can go back to the Animus quickly.
I knew our faith in you was not misplaced. We booked you passage to Boston. Your ship leaves at dawn.
Can we go back to the Animus and get out? Get out of the Animus, I meant.
Go forth, Haytham, Bring
because
honor to us all.
for some reason they got it into their head that maybe every time we make a new Assassin's Creed game, we'll change the faces of everyone who isn't actually who's in the normal world. Desmond changed his face, like somehow he went through plastic surgery through every Assassin's Creed game. In Revelations, he looked like a Muslim, which is a bit weird. He didn't look like American. I mean Muslim. You know what I mean? He looked like someone. Maybe that was done on purpose. Maybe they done it on purpose. Maybe they were purposely trying to make him look like someone from Altair's, you know, Egypt place, and then Istanbul, maybe. But then in this one, he looks normal again. So you tell me.
Some fresh air might do me good.
One thing that's a bit weird is that how is like an African American related to a how is the mother of Connor related to, unless who is related to Altair? And who's related to Ezio? Is he related to Ezio? Or is Connor's mum related to Ezio? I'm going to go with he's related to Ezio. How is he related to Ezio? He's British, isn't he? It doesn't make sense. It's weird. It's very weird. Desmond's ancestors were all over the place. Now the frame rate here was pretty terrible,
All will be well.
but it looks alright.
You sure about that? Of course. Have I
And
ever
here you
led
get to do a bit of
astray?
fighting, but
No, you don't sit right with the others. Have faith, my friend.
it's not, you know,
You'll see. Well.
it's not as good as
Seems our esteemed
Assassin's Creed.
guest has
The
deigned to
combat
grace us
isn't
with
as
his
polished
presence.
as
You
the
might
other
wanna head
games.
back to your
Assassin's Creed
quarters.
1
Top deck's no place for
actually
tender
felt pretty
party
polished for a new IP, and somehow Assassin's Creed 3 is as mediocre as Revelations is. It's still really polished, but
That's enough, Greg.
Assassin's Creed 3 is very unpolished. Yeah, I think it's the camera. The camera in the gameplay is terrible.
Look at how he bumbles about. Pathetic.
They made it so you just had to hold circle now to counter, which is weird. One thing I did like in the fisticuff fights, they would have this cool music. It would go. Now that's one thing that was a bit disappointing in Assassin's Creed 3 as well. It's like AC1, AC2, AC3, AC Brotherhood, I meant.
Call this off.
Number your games, please. This should be AC5. I don't know why they couldn't call Brotherhood AC3 Brotherhood. I guess maybe it would make it look a bit weird. Because people were like, it's number 5, come on. It's 5 already. So they can kind of make it not seem as if they're milking the franchise as much.
Why is that? You think I'm afraid of you?
No. But you should be.
But in AC2 and Brotherhood especially, the music was very like inspirational. You know, you'd like, it makes you want to get up on your feet and go, you know, and start singing it because of how awesome the music was. I think that's the main problem with the gameplay in this game. The camera is terrible. The camera is so bad in this
passing the time with a bit of sport, Captain.
in this
How about you
gameplay.
pass the time by doing your goddamn jobs instead? I
Now,
wasn't aware I was paying you to loll about.
I know this is a very long episode. I don't know if anyone's actually going to get to here or not, but
A word,
I'm going to
please,
keep
Mr.
going.
Kenway.
They did a really good job.
I nearly forgot.
Yes, a really good job of.
There's your knife back.
That knife would not go that slow. He wouldn't be able to dodge that. The knife would go into his foot. The knife would go flying into his foot at the speed of sound. He wouldn't be able to dodge that in time. It looked like it went in like slow
I
motion.
don't care for you, Mr. Kenway.
All right.
Nothing but trouble since you
So
came
you
aboard.
saw then
No problem.
Nothing
that
to do with me.
the game has those side missions in like these side objectives. Get them out of AC4 now. They are horrible. They complete. Assassin's Creed is supposed to be about choice. I thought, you know, you could like go in crazy swords, fists, knives, stabbing, or then go in stealthy, jump from above, and then they go, here's a side objective, beat it this way. And I'm like, it completely takes any freedom away from wanting to do it, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying because you're like, screw it, I want to do it my own way, and then you do it your own way, and you're like, damn it, I didn't get to do that side objective. Get them out. In Brotherhood, now in Brotherhood they were done right. I feel they were like, be as stealthy as possible, or maybe beat this in a time limit. You know, they weren't like, beat it using knives, beat it using this. They were like, you could still do it, fight it how you anyway, just beat it as fast as possible. You know, it did still take a little bit of choice out of how you wanted to play it, but it wasn't as bad. Personally, I think they should just get rid of them. You know, I think in Brotherhood they would. I don't think anyone really noticed them in Brotherhood. No one really cared. They weren't an issue. But in Assassin's Creed Revelations, they started to become a pain, and in Assassin's Creed 3, they were a real pain, and they just annoy me, and they give this really fake replayability to like beat these in a different way to get to the side objective, and I don't like that. I really didn't like it. Now, as I was talking before that, they portrayed the characters very well. They didn't go, you know, obviously since I'm English,
I don't want to
UK,
argue. In fact,
we didn't learn about
I need a
American,
favor.
you know, history.
Oh,
We
this
learned
is
about our
rich.
English history and Egypt
I suspect
stuff.
some of the men intend to mutiny.
Really? What
And-
a surprise.
As I cannot trust any of them, I am
But-
compelled to turn to you.
I do know
why
that
should
they
I
weren't
help?
all like handy dandy.
Because if
Everyone
they do
wasn't-
intend to
everyone,
betray,
you know, like,
I'm the only hope you have of
Benjamin
reaching
Franklin
America
wasn't
alive.
like the, you know,
Well,
he
will
liked
it be?
you know, you know what I'm trying to say. He liked the
What other choice do I have?
entertainment,
Thank
shall we say, and they showed it off.
Let me be
And then you're like,
clear.
woohoo! They actually showed everyone in a fair
Dare to
light.
insult or
I'm
threaten
British,
me
obviously,
I'll not hesitate, but to
and
cut off your
personally,
head
you know,
myself.
people are like, British people will
Oh,
be
yes.
offended by killing their own, and I'm like, no.
Excellent.
Why? Why would we be? The British were arseholes in this time.
Good day.
I don't feel bad about killing them. It's like, just because they're British doesn't mean, if they're bad people, I don't care if they're British, German, French, I don't care what race they are. If they're bad people, they're bad people, I don't care. I don't feel bad about killing them, because they're bad people. And, but Americans are bad people as well. They show everyone in a fair light. They don't show everyone as being a goody two-shoes. They don't show British being just bad. You know, they show everyone in a fair light very well, and they're very accurate. They've probably, obviously I don't know everything about American history, so they might have maybe missed some stuff out. Maybe people were hoping, I don't know, I never actually looked up on, I know people were happy about how they portrayed the people, but I don't know if really, you know, people who knew a lot about history, I don't know if they were completely thing, but I think they were. They did do a very good job at portraying the characters. You know, it wasn't, you know, everyone had bad and everyone was good. You know, people were bad and good. So that's very good. You know, I don't understand about that. People were like, oh, British, you're gonna hate killing your own kind in this, and I'm like, my own kind, if they're arseholes, they're not my kind. Oh, I'm a, you know, it's like, if I was alive, well, I know, you can't really say that. People go, if I was alive back then, I would say I would not agree with this. You don't know. But British were very bad. They were arseholes, and I don't care if they're British, if they're French, Russian, German,
Mr. Kenway.
Spanish, Swedish, anything. I don't care. If they're bad people, they're bad people. A bad person is a bad person, no matter race,
I believe it's coming to a head.
colour, anything. So that's how I feel about that.
Let's get to work.
Very deep for a game, kinda, sort of. It's kind of cool how a game can, you know, bring sort of these conversations up. Oh, they're British. Do you feel bad about killing your own kind? Killing your own British people? No, they're bad people. I don't care if they're British or not. But that is Assassin's Creed 3. You know, huge disappointment. But I'm kind of glad. If it wasn't for AC3, the problem is there was so much hype for it, and there was too much hype for it, and it was, the problem is it was kind of like they were doing a new IP, because it was quite unpolished, it was quite different. It's very dark in this ship right now, but you know, I'm glad they at least, you know, if they just done another Assassin's Creed game. This isn't just another Assassin's Creed game. It is different, which I'm glad they did, but it didn't work out. But maybe with Assassin's Creed 4 it will work out, and I'm hoping Assassin's Creed 4 will work out, and I'm glad. That's the one thing that good that came out AC3 is that they've actually made some proper innovations in the game. Not everything good, which happens, but that's what happens, and I'm hoping AC4 takes the things from AC3 and makes it what AC3 should have been. So that is AC3, the campaign. Now I'm going to try the multiplayer out. So yeah.